Jag är du. Kommer du att hämta mig? Jag har redan länge gått till din sida. Det vet jag. Är du beredd? Vi kommer dig. Inte jag själv. Vänta ett ögonblick. Så säger ni alla. Men jag lämnar inga uppskov. Du spelar ju schack sen. Hur vet det? Ja. Jag har sett på målningar och hört till visorna. Ja, jag är verkligen ganska skicklig schackspelare. Du kan ändå inte vara skickligare än jag. Varför vill du spela schack? Det är ju min sak. Gör det. Villkoret är att jag får leva så länge jag står emot. Spelar jag det makt, då är det. Du är svart. Det man säger bäst så. Inte sant? Jag har sett vad som jag måste ut.
Jag vet inte vad det händer.
Hörru, apelsin. Nej, det är inte någon synd. Det är alltså verkligt jag hade.
Jag måste synd.
Jag såg en ena.
Vem? Jag trodde.
Den heliga jungfrun Maria.
Trodde du riktigt?
Hon var så nära att jag kunde röra henne. När guldkrona på huvudet och blå klänning med blommagull. Och hon var barfota. Hon hade små bruna händer. Och hon höll barnet mellan händerna. Så när hon går. Så såg jag att jag såg det. Hur låg på mig. Och jag fick tårar i ögonen. Och när jag tryckte bort tårarna försvann. Och det blev alldeles tyst. Överallt. I himlen och på jorden.
Tänk vad du kan hända.
Jag märker att du inte tror mig. Men det var verkligen, säger dig. Inte så verkligen som du ser. Men en sorts verklighet.
Jag ser som verklighet som du sa. Han själv stod och målade vagnsdjuren röda. Han blev svansen på målarpenseln.
Men skulle du kunna dra över just den där historien?
Så upptäckte vi att du hade rödfärg under naglarna.
Ja, en gång var det kanske tråkigt. Jag gjorde det för det skulle tro mina andra syner. De riktiga. De som har tittat på.
Men du får hålla styr på dina syner du. Annars kan du inte betraktas som en fåne. Det är du. Smitten är inte än för dig. Så det jag vet. Fast riktigt säkert är det ju inte.
Jag har inte bättre mina syner. Man kan inte hjälpa att röst och tala till mig. Och att den heliga jungfrun visas. Och att änglar och jävlar tycker om umgås med mig.
Åh, jag har sagt det en gång för alla att jag behöver sova på morgonen. Jag bättre. Vem faller på min linje? Varför säger jag nu? Jag vill att Mikael ska bli bättre.
Mikael ser din stora kvar. Eller kanske en chaufför som utför en omöjlig avskrift.
Vad är det för konstigt?
Att på en av bollarna har stannat helt stilla i luften.
Det är omöjligt.
Ja, för oss är det omöjligt. Men inte för honom.
Men mina fantasier.
Jag har gjort en sång. Jag tänkte utreda. Jag låg bak nästan hela natten. Vill du höra en sång?
Men så. Jag är väldigt nyfiken.
Där sitter fruan på Lillekvist i midsommartid. Man sjunger så fader om Jesus Krist. I himmelen är en stor glädje. Sover du?
Vad mycket vackert så.
Men slutet?
Nej, jag hör. Jag ska bara sova lite. Så kan du sjunga resten sen.
Den var så.
Nu är en nattering var svårskör. Man frågar. Om du inte vågar att pressa betalar för att du ska säga nej. Kan du spela det? Nej.
Det är inte att nästa part av det. Vi går in. Vi har det så att det är en del. Nu är man inte där 2 år med bilden. Vad gör det? We can either choose to ignore it or we can confront the prospect of our own death. And by thinking clearly about it, try to minimize the suffering that it can bring. However, in neither of these ways can we actually overcome it. As a Buddhist, I view death that I accept will occur as long as I remain in this earthly existence, knowing that I cannot escape it. I see no point in worrying about it. I tend to think of death as being like changing your clothes when they are old and worn out, rather than as some final end. Yet death is unpredictable. We do not know when or how it will take place. So it is only sensible to take some of the precautions before it actually happens. Naturally, most of us would like to die a peaceful death. But it is also clear that we cannot hope to die peacefully if our lives have been full of violence, or if our minds have mostly been agitated by emotions like anger, attachment or fear. If we wish to die well, we must learn how to live well. Hoping for peaceful death, we must cultivate peace in our mind and in our way of life. As you read here, from the Buddhist point of view, the actual experience of death is very important. Although how or where we will be reborn is generally dependent on karmic forces. Our state of mind at the time of death can influence the quality of our next rebirth. So at the moment of death, in spite of the great variety of karmas we have accumulated, if we make a special effort to generate a virtuous state of mind, we may strengthen and activate the virtuous karma, and so bring about a happy rebirth. The actual point of death is also when the most profound and beautiful inner experiences can come about. Though repeated acquaintance with the process of death in meditation, an accomplished meditator can use his or her actual death to gain great spiritual realization. This is why experienced practitioners engage in meditative practices as they pass away. An indication of their attainment is that often their body do not begin to decay until long after they are clinically dead. No less significant than preparing for our own death is helping others to die. As a newborn baby, each of us was helpless, and without the care and kindness we received them, we would not have survived. Because the dying are also unable to help themselves, we should relieve them of discomfort and anxiety and assist them, as far as we can, to die with composure. Here the most important point is to avoid anything which will cause the dying person's mind to become more disturbed than it may already be. Our prime aim is helping a dying person to put them at ease, and there are many ways of doing this. Dying persons familiar with spiritual practice may be encouraged and inspired if they are reminded of it. But even kindly reassurance on our part can engender a peaceful, relaxed attitude in the dying person's mind. Death in the modern world. I learned that people today are taught to deny death, and taught that it means nothing but analyzation and loss. That means that most of the world lives either in denial of death or in terror of it. Even talking about death is considered morbid, and many people believe that simply mentioning death is to risk wishing it upon themselves. Others look on death with naive, thoughtless cheerfulness, thinking that for some unknown reason death will work out alright for them, and that there is nothing to worry about. When I think of that, I am reminded of what once a little master says. People often make the mistake of being frivolous about death and think, oh well, that happens to everybody. It's no big deal. It's natural. I'll be fine. That's a nice theory, until one is dying. Of those two attitudes towards death, one views death as something to scurry away from, and the other as something that will just take care of itself. How far they both are from understanding death's true significance. All the greatest spiritual traditions of the world, including of course Christianity, have told us clearly that death is not the end. They have all handed down a vision of some sort of this life to come, which infuses this life that we are leading now with sacred meaning. But despite that teaching, modern society is largely a spiritual desert, where the majority imagine that this life is all there is, without any real authentic faith in an afterlife. Most people live life deprived of any ultimate meaning. I have come to realize that the disastrous effects of the denial of death go far beyond the individuals. They affect the whole planet, believing fundamentally that this life is the only one. Modern people have developed no long-term vision, so there is nothing to restrain them from plundering this planet for their own. immediate ends, and from living in a selfish way that could prove fatal for the future. How many more warnings do we need, like this one from the Brazilian Minister of Environment, responsible for the Amazon rainforest? Modern industrial society is a fanatical religion. We are demolishing, possessing, destroying all life systems on the planet. We are signing IOUs our children will not be able to pay. Fear of death and ignorance of the afterlife are fueling the destruction of environments that is threatening all of our lives. So isn't it all the more disturbing that people are not taught what death is, or how to die, or given any hope in what lies after death, and so what really lies behind life? Could it be more ironic that young people are so highly educated in every subject except the one that holds the key to the entire meaning of life, and perhaps to our way of survival? It has often intrigued me how some Buddhist masters I know ask one simple question of people who approach them for teaching. Do you believe in life after this one? They are not being asked whether they believe in it as a philosophical proposition, but whether they feel it deeply in their heart. The master knows that if people believe in a life after this one, the whole outlook of life will be different. That if people believe in life after this one, the whole outlook of this life will be different. And they will have a distinct sense of personal responsibility and morality. What the masters must suspect is there is a danger that people who have no strong belief in life after this one will create a society fixated on short-term results, without much thought for the consequence of their actions. Could this be the major reason why we have created a fruitful world like the one which we are now living, a world which leads with little real compassion? The journey through life and death. According to the wisdom of Buddha, we can actually use our lives to prepare for death. We do not have to wait for the painful death of someone close to us, or the shock of terminal illness to force us into looking at ourselves. Nor are we condemned to go about empty-handed at death to meet the unknown. We can begin here and now to find meaning in our lives. We can make every moment an opportunity to change and prepare, wholeheartedly, precisely, and with peace of mind for death and eternity. In the Buddhist approach, life and death are seen as one whole, where death is the beginning of another chapter of life. Death is a mirror in which the entire meaning of life is reflected. This view is central to the teaching of the most ancient school of Tibetan Buddhism. What I am seeking to do in this book is to explain and expand the Tibetan Book of the Dead, to cover not only death but life as well, and to fill out in detail the whole teaching of which the Tibetan Book of the Dead is only a part. In this wonderful teaching, we find that the whole life and death presented together as a series of constantly changing transitional realities known as bardos. The word bardo was commonly used to denote the intermediate state between death and rebirth. But in reality, bardos are occurring continuously throughout both life and death, and are junctures when the possibility of liberation or enlightenment is heightened. Bardos are particularly powerful opportunities for liberation because there are the teachings show us certain moments that are much more powerful than others and much more charged with potential, when whatever you do has a crucial and far-reaching effect. I think of a bardo as being like a moment when you step toward the edge of a precipice. Such a moment, for example, is when a master introduces a disciple to the essential, original and enormous nature of his or her mind. The greatest and most charged of these moments, however, is the moment of death. Impermanence. There is no place on earth where death cannot find us, even if we constantly twist our heads about in all directions as in a dubious and suspect land. If there were any way of sheltering from death's blows, I am not the man to recoil from it, but it is the madness to think that we can succeed. Men come and they go, and they trot and they dance, and never a word about death. All well and good. Yet when death does come, to them, their wives, their children, their friends, catching them unawares and unprepared, in what storms of passion overwhelm them. What cries, what fury, what despair. To begin depriving death of its greatest advantage over us, let us adopt a way clean contrary to the common one. Let us deprive death of its strangeness. Let us frequent it. Let us get used to it. Let us have nothing more often in mind than death. We do not know where death awaits us. So let us await let us wait for it everywhere. To practice death is to practice freedom. A man who has learned how to die has learned how to be a slave. Okay.
In 5 minutes, this game will start with
C'è